In the bustling city of Cloudscape, a growing technology hub, a young engineer named Vineet received an assignment that would shape their career. Vineet had recently joined Skynet Solutions, a company rapidly migrating its infrastructure to the cloud. The assignment was straightforward yet daunting. Master AWS Identity and Access Management, or IAM, and implement it to secure their organization's cloud resources. Vineet's mentor, Sophia, a seasoned cloud architect, greeted them with a knowing smile. Sophia, IAM is like the security guard of the cloud. It controls who gets in, what they can do, and ensures they only access what they need. Let's start with the basics. Sophia explained how IAM allowed users to manage access to AWS services and resources securely. It used roles, policies, and permissions to define access controls. Vineet was fascinated by the concept of least privilege, ensuring users and services had only the permissions they needed to perform their tasks. Their first task was to understand the building blocks of IAM: users, groups, roles, and policies. Vineet set up their AWS account and began exploring the IAM dashboard, excited about the journey ahead. Vineet's first practical task was to create a user named Devuser and assign them to a group called Developers. The group had a policy attached, granting permissions to deploy and manage applications on AWS. Vineet, what if we need temporary access for someone? Sophia, great question. That's where roles and temporary credentials come in. We'll get to that soon. For now, remember to enforce strong password policies and use multi-factor authentication, or MFA, for users. By the end of the day, Vineet had set up several users and groups, each with distinct permissions. The foundation of secure access management was taking shape. A week later, Vineet faced a new challenge: granting access to an external application without sharing long-term credentials. Sophia introduced roles. Sophia roles are like identities you can assume temporarily. They're perfect for scenarios like this. Instead of assigning permissions to a user, you assign them to a role, and then users or applications can assume the role. Sophia demonstrated creating a role for an EC2 instance to access an S3 bucket. She configured a trust relationship, allowing the EC2 service to assume the role. Vineet was amazed at how seamlessly the EC2 instance could now access the bucket without requiring hard-coded credentials. The concept of trust relationships intrigued Vineet. They spent the evening experimenting with various scenarios, from granting access to Lambda functions to enabling cross-account access. Together, they explored managed and inline policies. Vineet learned the art of crafting custom policies using the JSON editor, meticulously specifying actions, resources, and conditions. Sophia, always test your policies with the IAM policy simulator. It helps you validate that your permissions work as intended without risking your environment. By the end of the session, Vineet had created a custom policy granting read-only access to DynamoDB tables. They tested it on a new user and felt a surge of confidence when the user's access worked perfectly. As Vineet's expertise grew, so did their responsibilities. Sophia introduced them to IAM Access Analyzer, a tool to identify resources shared outside the organization. Sophia's security is not just about granting access, it's also about knowing where your resources are exposed. Vineet activated Access Analyzer and found an S3 bucket shared with a public account. They quickly corrected the misconfiguration and implemented a bucket policy to restrict access. The incident was a wake-up call. Vineet began reviewing compliance standards like GDPR, HIPAA, and SOC2, ensuring their IAM configurations aligned with industry requirements. It's a simple yet effective way to add an extra layer of security. Even if someone steals your password, they'll need the MFA code to access your account. Vineet enabled MFA for all users and explored advanced features like service control policies for managing permissions across AWS organizations. They also implemented session duration controls for temporary credentials, striking a balance between security and usability. With their IAM skills honed, Vineet tackled real-world challenges. One project involved setting up cross-account access between Skynet Solutions and the partner organization. Another required integrating IAM with third-party identity providers using SAML and OIDC. Each challenge tested Vineet's understanding, but with Sophia's guidance and the AWS documentation, they succeeded. Months later, Skynet Solutions conducted a comprehensive security audit. Vineet presented their IAM configurations, explaining how each component contributed to the overall security posture. The audit team was impressed. They highlighted the meticulous use of least privilege, the effective implementation of MFA, and the proactive monitoring with Access Analyzer. Skynet Solutions passed the audit with flying colors, and Vineet's efforts were recognized across the organization. Years later, Vineet had become a cloud architect, mentoring new engineers in the art of IAM. One day, a young recruit asked, "What's the secret to mastering IAM?" Vineet responded, "It's about understanding the principles of security and applying them consistently." IAM is powerful, but it's only as good as the thought you put into it. And so the cycle continued, with each generation of engineers building on the knowledge of those who came before them, safeguarding the cloud for years to come.